for murder. One of the members present with Nat Nice at the scene was Tiny. He managed to beat the case. See, Shadow was mourning, furious at the death of his brother. He spent the following week shooting up Edmonton. Lurking was pretty much a 9-to-5 job to him. However, his bloodthirsty intentions were stopped in his tracks when he was caught by police in the Enfield area. See, Shadow was actually banned from entering Enfield because of his known gang affiliation and the high risk of violence if he returned. These conditions were put in place after he was convicted of affray, violent disorder and possession of a knife in the London riots back in 2011. Shadow was now sent to Feltham Young Offenders Institution and after relocated in a whole new city, the city of Leicester. Shadow settled in Leicester and began doing the only thing he knew, selling drugs. He gained a lot of local enemies for selling in their territory, and on the 12th of September 2013, Shadow had an altercation with a dealer named Ants. It sadly ended with Shadow stabbing Ants to death. Just a few hours after the fatal stabbing of Ants, his friends got a word of the sad news. Angry, they tried to avenge his death by petrol bombing the home of one of Shadow's friends, Abdul Karim, but they mistakenly targeted a house just 2 doors away, killing the 47-year-old wife of a surgeon and his 3 children, aged 19, 17 and 15. What a tragic event. Just imagine being away from your family, working as a surgeon who spends his life working to save lives, only to find out your whole family were killed in a house fire because of some senseless gang violence that you nor they had anything to do with. 2 men responsible for the mistaken arson attack were sentenced to 35 and 25 years minimum, while 6 others were sentenced to manslaughter. Shadow was also found guilty for the murder of Ants and was sentenced to 22 years. You see, from one altercation on Kent Road between Shadow and Ants, and look at the impact it had on many lives, both civilians and gang members. Come 2015, and things changed in Enfield. Them Africans were no longer a thing, and a new generation replaced them. 900 came into play. A1 from the 9, a notorious member who later became a pioneer in the UK drill scene, would rep them. Original 9 boys would also appear, another gang that came into play. Notorious member Tion Wayne, who would also soon make a name for himself musically, rep them. The same thing with GMG. Fresh new talent were emerging, such as Pokey, the creator of the Anything Green Get Bun trend that you now see OFB adopt. He would later also drop some big drill classics, and his rivalry with A1 from the 9 became viral. The beef with GMG continued as usual. We thank God that despite this, from then until today, no one has died from these 2 sworn rivals going at it. Sadly, despite this fact, lives were still lost to some of the most brutal and strange circumstances. Forward to 2016, it was business as usual for Chaos and Ninja. They run a lucrative drug business in North London and were making serious money. Police threw a spanner in their works when Chaos was convicted on the 15th of July 2016 for plotting to transfer a Scorpion submachine gun and a pistol. He was sentenced to 6 years in prison. Unfortunately, just after a few months, on 18th of October 2016, Chaos had a row of a Congolese man over a package that contained drugs and phones on G-Wing. During the argument, Chaos was heard saying, "Listen, if you want war, I'll give you war." The following day, 3 men approached Chaos. Despite Chaos being armed with a knife, he was outnumbered, stabbed fatally, and then thrown over the railing of a 5th floor landing. The sad thing is, Chaos had just become a father. The 3 men involved were tried at a court for murder, where they brought up the fact Chaos had a knife, his gang history of being involved in the murder of Negus, and a list of other charges throughout his life to vilify him as a dangerous man. This swung the jury, and in doing so, all 3 men were acquitted of murder. This was the second time a GMG member had lost a brother in the beef. Come 2017, Ninja was the boss of AP, which stood for Albany Park. United the Allied Hood and was dubbed the landlord. He was also a bona fide millionaire who would for some reason stick around the ends, riding in his luxury cars and overseeing things. Prominent AP members included Django, Skiz, Skanks, etc. Tiny, the guy who beat the chicken murder, would also become a boss and form 3x3. He was in control of a new generation of youngsters who were desperate to make a name for themselves. A1 from the 9 would be caught with a knife and sentenced to 2 years in prison, and after that he was unjustly deported to the country he was born in, Germany. The justice system thought it was fair to throw a man in a country where according to him he had no friends, family, and didn't even speak the native language on the pretext that he was dangerous. Now come the end of the year, Skengs had been using one of his fiend's houses as a bando. On December 21st, 2017, Skengs was sleeping in a bando. The fiend was itching for drugs, knowing he didn't have any money. Skengs had drugs as well as money on him. While Skengs peacefully slept, the man whacked him with a hammer. This didn't finish off Skengs, so he ran into the kitchen, came back with a 16cm long knife and repeatedly stabbed Skengs until he died. He took the drugs and money and proceeded to wrap his body in a black and red duvet with plastic bags over his head. He then placed the body in a loft. Skengs' family contacted the police after he had been missing for a while. Not only was the young man brutally murdered, but his body had been hidden, which put Skengs' family through the anguish of not knowing where he was. It was the hope that kept them up at night. Now, anyone who has ever seen street videos and those who deal with fiends, you always see them get very violent with them. We've all come across these videos feeling sorry for them, but maybe there's method in the madness. Maybe it's these antics that creates fear in the fiend's head that will stop him from attacking you, or even the idea ever coming across their minds. Few things are more dangerous than a fiend who needs his fix. Mr. Hopkins, the fiend that brutally killed Skengs, later to threaten to kill another drug dealer, saying, "I've done it before, he's in the loft." His big mouth will get him caught. After 8 months, a tip from a friend of Hopkins would allow the police to inspect his house, where he would find Skengs' body. Damn. It was in a condition where it was badly decomposed and infested with insects. Mr. Hopkins was found guilty of murder. This was the second time a GMG AP member died in brutal fashion, and the second time he had nothing to do with the Edmonton Ops. Over the next few years, a new generation of AP and 3x3 members were scoring on each other. Thankfully, nothing fatal occurred. However, on the 19th of March 2020, Abdullahi Mahmood aka Ninja walked into Bagel King in Enfield to buy some food. Present in the shop with him were Django, K1 and T Rose. However, what he didn't know was the location was given to TJ, who repped Southgate. See, Southgate is a set that had no connection to their ops Edmonton. In fact, it said they had growing tension with Ninja's ops. Many believed TJ had personal beef with Ninja. Some speculated he wanted to take Ninja's lucrative position. See, Ninja was known as the landlord for a reason. Outside the respect from his hood, he was linked to some big boy drug importers. It's rumored that he even caught a body with some of them. TJ entered the Bagel King with a pistol, instantly fired 4 shots which missed his targets. Ninja attempted to flee through the back door of the restaurant and into the large yards of garages to try and escape. Ninja and his friends attempted to scale a wall. TJ followed and fired 1 last shot which went through Ninja's arm and straight into his forehead. Despite this, Ninja had enough adrenaline to scale another wall before he eventually collapsed on the floor. TJ looked over the wall and aimed the gun at Ninja's friends, but decided not to shoot, and he made his way back from the front of the shop. Medics attempted to save Ninja, but despite their best efforts, he died in hospital. In a bid to provide himself with an alibi, TJ had phoned his friend Alex and kept the line open during the period of the shooting. Police saw through this later though into the investigation and charged his friend with attempting to pervert the court of justice. TJ was sentenced to 27 years minimum in prison. This death was a huge blow to AP. Their boss who united their ends was gone, and once again they lost a member. Tiny, the guy who witnessed the death of Chicken all the way back in 2013, would have issues with a man named Christopher George. Some speculate and claim it was regarding money issues, but this could be a case of Chinese whispers. Whatever the case was, on the 29th of July 2020, Tiny and 3 members would spot Christopher on 4th Street and had followed him in 2 vehicles, an Audi and a BMW, watching him for a period of time until Roshane Watson, aka Tiny, would shoot him in the chest at close range. Detectives from the Met Specialist Crime Command Unit spent hours trawling CCTV footage, leading them to suspect Watson. He was seen wearing the same tracksuit as the murder as he wore in a drill music video that had been uploaded to YouTube in the previous month. He was also caught wearing the same tracksuit on CCTV the day before the murder, and a body-worn video from a police stop on July 9th showed he was wearing the same trainers as the gunman. Tiny was found guilty and sentenced to 32 years. See, the thing about the street is the unpredictability of it. You are truly rolling the dice, but the stakes are your life. How many murders and lives lost in everything I documented when only 2 of the lives lost were by the actual ops? See, if your ops don't get you, Someone who wants your position could. The police could gun you down for their own safety. Even your own friends could. And if you don't die, the system could take you for life. I'm sending my condolences to all the family of everyone I mentioned who's not here today. As always, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe as it goes a long way. More of these are pending. Also follow me on Instagram, and a special mention to MDN for always supporting. Give that boy a follow. Skyboy out.